Some sentences don't just reveal your intelligence. They expose your entire mindset. The smartest people don't show their wisdom by talking. They show it by what they refuse to say. Most people speak to impress, defend, or prove something about themselves. But intelligent people understand a deeper truth. Every word carries a consequence. Words can elevate your presence or quietly destroy your credibility. Stoic philosophy has taught this for centuries. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that unnecessary speech weakens focus, and Seneca warned that careless words are often the first sign of an undisciplined mind. When you choose your words with intention, you're not just communicating, you're shaping how the world reads your character. And that's why today's topic matters, because avoiding the wrong sentences doesn't just make you sound smarter, it makes you become smarter. More self-aware, more disciplined, more powerful inside. Today, we uncover 7 things an intelligent person never says. Let's begin. Part 1. I already know that. The subtle trap of arrogance. I already know that. This one sentence can instantly make a person appear less intelligent. It closes more doors than it opens. It reveals insecurity disguised as confidence. Most people say, I already know that, as a shield. A quick way to prove they're competent, aware, or ahead of the conversation. But behind that shield is a fear of being seen as uninformed. Intelligent people understand that pretending to know everything is the fastest way to stop growing. They know knowledge is not a fixed container. It is a flowing river. The moment you declare it full, it begins to dry. Think back to a moment when you tried sharing something valuable and the other person cut you off with, I know. You felt dismissed, you felt unheard, and you lost the desire to share anything else. That feeling is exactly what you trigger in others when you use this sentence, even if you don't mean to. Stoic wisdom warns us about this trap. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The obstacle to learning is the illusion of knowledge." The Stoics believed humility is not weakness. It is the foundation of true intelligence. A person who already knows everything can never receive anything new. A person who stays curious becomes limitless. The truth is simple. Saying, I already know that, is rarely about knowledge. It's almost always about ego. It's a reaction born from insecurity, not wisdom. And insecurity leads to stagnation, missed opportunities, and shallow thinking. Intelligent people replace that instinct with awareness. Instead of shutting the door, they leave it slightly open, just enough to let new insight in. Because even if the concept is familiar, the perspective might not be. The lesson might not be. The timing might not be. Here's what a truly intelligent person says instead. Interesting. Tell me more. I've heard it before, but I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. What part of it do you think is most important? These answers do one powerful thing. They keep your mind in learning mode. They also show confidence, because only secure people can admit they might not know everything. And that kind of confidence makes others respect you more, not less. When you choose curiosity over pride, people open up to you. They share insights they would have hidden. They trust you more, and most importantly, you grow, mentally, emotionally, and intellectually. Intelligence isn't proven by showing how much you already know. It's proven by how willing you are to keep learning. So the next time someone tells you something you've heard before, resist the urge to cut them off. Breathe. Pause for 2 seconds and say, remind me. What's the key insight here? That sentence keeps your mind sharp. That sentence deepens your character. That sentence separates the truly intelligent from the merely prideful. Part 2. That's impossible. The sentence that quietly shrinks your potential. That's impossible. Few sentences reveal a limited mind faster than this one. It's not a statement of reality. It's a confession of fear, and it stops your growth before life even has the chance to test you. People say, "That's impossible," when they look at a challenge and immediately measure it against their current abilities, not their potential. It's a reflex born from past failures, insecurity, or conditioning from people who gave up long before they ever tried. But here's the problem. When you declare something impossible, you silently hand your power over to the obstacle. Stoics rejected this mindset completely. They believed obstacles were not dead ends. They were invitations. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, the thing you fear is often the very thing that will make you stronger, wiser, and more disciplined. Think about how many breakthroughs in your life came from things you once thought you couldn't do. A tough conversation you survived, a job you mastered, a skill you never expected to learn. None of those moments were possible at the beginning. They became possible only after you stepped into them. "That's impossible" is a psychological stop sign. But the truth is, most impossible things are just difficult things you haven't tried yet. And intelligent people know this. They don't deny difficulty. They simply refuse to surrender to it. When someone says that's impossible, what they really mean is, "I don't know how yet. I'm afraid of failing. I'm judging the future with the limits of my past." Intelligent people replace that phrase with something far more powerful. What part of this is actually possible right now? What's the first small step? What do I need to learn to make this achievable? These questions shift your mind from defeat to strategy. They pull your focus towards solutions instead of fear. And the moment your focus shifts, your future shifts with it. Imagine a person facing a challenge at work, a new role, a leadership task, a complex project. A limited mind says, "Impossible." A Stoic-trained mind says, "It's bigger than me today, but not bigger than who I can become." That difference in thinking can transform a career, a relationship, even an entire life. Stoicism teaches the dichotomy of control. You may not control the entire path, but you always control the next step. Intelligent people don't obsess over the whole mountain. They move the first stone, and each stone moved expands their idea of what's possible. So the next time your mind whispers, "That's impossible," pause. Notice the fear behind the words, and then choose a different sentence, one that expands your world instead of shrinking it. What's the next step I can take? That's the language of intelligence. That's the mindset that turns barriers into breakthroughs. And that's how impossible things quietly become inevitable. Part 3. It's not my fault. The sentence that weakens your power. It's not my fault. This sentence feels safe at the moment, but it quietly destroys your credibility, and it tells the world you are controlled by circumstances, not guided by character. Most people say, "It's not my fault," to escape blame. It's a knee-jerk reaction that protects the ego at the expense of growth. But intelligent people understand a deeper truth. Responsibility is not about fault. It is about power. The moment you deny responsibility, you also deny your ability to influence, improve, or change anything. Stoic philosophy teaches radical ownership. Epictetus reminded us that we don't control events. We control our judgments, our choices, and our responses. When you say, "It's not my fault," you push control outward. When you say, "Here's what I can do better next time," you pull control inward, where it belongs. Think about the last time someone messed up but immediately defended themselves. You didn't feel respect. You didn't feel trust. You felt frustration because their excuses told you they cared more about protecting their pride than fixing the problem. Now imagine others seeing you the same way when you shift blame. Intelligent people don't avoid responsibility. They embrace it calmly, clearly, without drama. Not because they enjoy taking the hit, but because responsibility gives them leverage. When you own your part, you unlock the ability to improve your environment, your outcomes, and your character. Blame only keeps you stuck. Here's the real issue. "It's not my fault" is often true. Life is messy. People disappoint you. Circumstances collapse without warning. But intelligence is not measured by how often you're right. It's measured by how well you respond when things go wrong. When things fall apart, the average person asks, "Whose fault is this?" An intelligent person asks, "What can I control moving forward?" That question shifts your identity from victim to creator, from passive to powerful, and from fragile to resilient. Here are smarter alternatives intelligent people use. "Here's what I could have done differently. This part was out of my control, but I'll fix my side. Let me take responsibility for my role and adjust." These sentences show maturity, strength, and leadership. They also create trust. In relationships, in friendships, in workplaces. People naturally respect those who own their actions without collapsing into guilt or excuses. Responsibility is not about admitting defeat. Responsibility is about claiming authority over your life. That's why Stoics practiced self-examination every day. They believed that the strongest person is not the one who avoids mistakes, but the one who faces them honestly and corrects them quickly. Strength is not perfection. Strength is accountability. So the next time you catch yourself about to say, "It's not my fault," stop. Breathe. Step into a higher version of yourself and replace it with a sentence that builds respect instead of shrinking it. "Here's how I'll do better next time." Because intelligent people don't run from ownership, they use it to rise above everyone who does. Part 4. I don't need help. The illusion of strength that makes you weaker. I don't need help. This sentence sounds strong on the surface, but underneath it reveals fear, pride, and a fragile sense of independence. It disconnects you from people, from growth, and from opportunities that could change your life. Most people say, "I don't need help," because they believe that asking for support makes them look weak or less capable. They fear being judged, misunderstood, or seen as vulnerable. But refusing help is not a sign of strength. It's a sign of insecurity disguised as resilience. Intelligent people know that independence without wisdom becomes isolation. Stoic philosophy values humility, not stubbornness. Seneca reminded us, "No one is wise enough by themselves." Even the greatest emperors, generals, and thinkers relied on teachers, advisors, and communities. To learn is human. To evolve is necessary. To pretend you can do everything alone is delusion. Think back to a time when you struggled silently. Maybe it was a project, a personal crisis, a deadline, or a responsibility that grew heavier each day. Instead of asking for help, you pushed harder until exhaustion or resentment set in. Now imagine how different that moment could have been if you had simply said, "Can you guide me?" A few words could have saved effort, stress, and mistakes. Here's the truth few people admit. Refusing help is often rooted in ego. Accepting help is rooted in wisdom. Intelligent people understand that collaboration does not diminish their value, it strengthens it. They know they can still think independently while receiving insight from others. They know that asking for help is not surrender, it is strategy. It accelerates progress, deepens relationships, and builds trust. There is another layer to this. When you allow someone to help you, you give them a chance to express their strengths. People feel valued when their skills matter. People feel connected when their presence makes a difference. And relationships grow when support flows both ways, not just one. Contrast that with the person who says, "I don't need anything from anyone." They isolate themselves emotionally and professionally. They block opportunities, misjudge their limits, and often burn out in silence. Their pride becomes their prison. Intelligent people speak differently. They say things like, I can handle parts of this, but I'd appreciate your perspective. Could you walk me through how you'd approach this? I want to learn. Can you show me? These sentences don't weaken your value, they amplify it. They show confidence, openness, and maturity. They show that your goal is growth, not appearance. The Stoics believed virtue thrives in community, not solitude. Even Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome, admitted he learned from dozens of teachers and advisors. If a ruler of an empire can admit he needs help, surely we can too. So the next time you feel tempted to say, "I don't need help," pause. Ask yourself whether you're choosing strength or choosing ego. Then choose the sentence that elevates you, not the one that cages you. I can do this, but I can do it better with guidance. That is the confidence of someone truly intelligent, and that is the humility that takes you farther than pride ever will. Part 5. I'll do it later. The quiet lie that steals your future. I'll do it later. This is one of the most dangerous sentences a person can say. It feels harmless at the moment, but it becomes a lifetime habit that quietly destroys discipline, momentum, and opportunity. Most people don't realize this sentence isn't about timing. It's about avoidance. I'll do it later is a way to escape discomfort without admitting it. It lets you delay effort while pretending you still have control. But intelligent people know a painful truth. Procrastination is the subtle thief of potential. Not because you can't do the work, but because you're choosing emotional comfort over long-term growth. Stoic philosophy rejects delay. Marcus Aurelius asked, "If you know the right thing to do, why wait?" To the Stoics, postponing action means postponing the person you could become. They believed every moment you hesitate is a moment you surrender to weakness instead of strengthening your character. Think about how many opportunities were lost because of this sentence. A skill you wanted to learn, a conversation you kept putting off, a dream you postponed so many times it slowly slipped away. None of those were destroyed by failure. They were destroyed by delay, and delay always feels gentle at first. That's why it's so dangerous. The real problem with "I'll do it later" is that it disguises itself as logic. You convince yourself you're waiting for the right time or doing it when you feel ready. But readiness is a myth. Clarity comes from action, not waiting. Intelligent people understand that momentum creates motivation, not the other way around. When you wait, your mind weakens. When you act, your mind sharpens. That's why intelligent individuals replace "I'll do it later" with something far more effective. I'll start for 10 minutes now. What's the smallest step I can take today? Let me do the imperfect version first. These sentences rewire your brain from avoidance to engagement. They turn overwhelming tasks into tiny, manageable moves. And the moment you begin, even for 10 minutes, you break the psychological barrier that was holding you back. Imagine how different your life would already look if every time you said, "I'll do it later," you instead took one small step immediately. Small steps compound. Small steps become habits. Small steps create a future where discipline, not procrastination, defines you. The Stoics believed that discipline is freedom. Because disciplined people don't lose days, weeks, or years to hesitation. They live with urgency, not panic, with intention, not excuses, with clarity, not delay. So the next time "I'll do it later" rises to your lips, pause, feel the temptation to escape the moment, recognize the lie hiding beneath it, and replace it with a sentence that pulls you forward instead of holding you back. I'll do it now, even if it's just a small start. That sentence changes everything. That sentence builds a life you're proud of, and that sentence is why intelligent people accomplish what others only dream about. Part 6. That's just who I am. The excuse that freezes your growth. That's just who I am. This sentence sounds honest, but it's really a cage disguised as identity. It tells the world you've stopped evolving, and worse, it tells yourself the same thing. People say, "That's just who I am," when they feel threatened by change. It's a protective wall built around old habits, old pain, or old stories they've repeated for so long that they start believing them. But intelligent people know identity is not a prison. It is a choice, and every choice can be rewritten. Stoic philosophy views the self as something shaped by actions, not excuses. Epictetus taught, "You become what you repeatedly do." If you repeatedly avoid growth, you become avoidant. If you repeatedly stretch yourself, you become strong. Identity is not fixed. It's sculpted, one decision at a time. Think about someone you've met who uses this sentence constantly. "I'm just bad at communication. I'm not patient. I'm always like this." These statements don't describe personality. They describe unwillingness. And unwillingness is not intelligence. Now consider the opposite. A person who admits their flaws but doesn't hide behind them. They don't call it who they are. They call it who they're working on. Those are the people who grow, evolve, and transform year after year. That is real maturity. Here's the truth most people avoid. When you say, "That's just who I am," what you really mean is, "I'm afraid to change." Because change requires discomfort. Change demands honesty. Change forces you to confront the parts of yourself you'd rather ignore. But refusing to change doesn't protect you. It traps you. Intelligent people never hide behind identity statements. Instead, they speak in possibilities. "I struggle with this, but I'm improving. This isn't natural for me yet. I'm learning to handle this better." These sentences keep the door to growth wide open. They show self-awareness, not self-sabotage, and they reveal a powerful truth. Intelligent people don't fear change. They expect it. Stoics saw identity as a living practice. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily to act with clarity, honesty, courage, and discipline, not because those traits were automatic, but because he chose them every morning. If an emperor of Rome had to work on himself, the rest of us certainly do too. Think about the areas of your life where you've repeated the same mistakes, the same reactions, the same behaviors. How many of them were protected by the excuse, "That's just who I am"? How many relationships, opportunities, or breakthroughs were lost because you refused to step beyond your old version? Identity is not something you announce. It's something you prove. It's something you build. It's something you refine through effort, not defend through excuses. So the next time you feel the urge to say, "That's just who I am," pause. Recognize the fear behind the words and replace it with a sentence that empowers your evolution. "This is who I've been, not who I have to remain." That sentence unlocks your future. That sentence honors your potential. And that sentence is why intelligent people never limit themselves to who they were yesterday. Part 7. I don't care. The defensive wall that reveals hidden insecurity. I don't care. It sounds cold. It sounds tough. It sounds untouchable. But in reality, it's one of the clearest signs that a person cares a lot. They just don't know how to deal with the feeling. People say, "I don't care," as a shortcut to avoid vulnerability. It's a shield against disappointment, embarrassment, or emotional risk. But intelligent people understand that pretending not to care doesn't protect you. It disconnects you from your humanity, your relationships, and your growth. Stoic philosophy teaches emotional mastery, not emotional denial. Marcus Aurelius never said, "Stop caring." He said, "Care about the right things." To a Stoic, indifference is not apathy. It is clarity. It means choosing what deserves your attention, not pretending nothing affects you. Think about the last time someone hurt you, ignored you, or dismissed something important to you. Maybe you told yourself, "Whatever, I don't care." But deep down, you did. And because you refused to acknowledge it, the pain stayed inside instead of being understood, processed, or transformed. Saying, "I don't care," doesn't make you stronger. It makes you emotionally blind to your own truth. And here's the irony. People who truly don't care don't announce it. They show it naturally, calmly, without any performance. But the ones who loudly say, "I don't care," often feel the most threatened by judgment, failure, or rejection. Intelligent people choose a different path. They practice emotional honesty, not emotional theatrics. When something bothers them, they don't deny it. They examine it. They understand it. They decide carefully how much weight to give it. Because emotional maturity isn't about shutting down. It's about responding with wisdom instead of impulse. Instead of saying, "I don't care," intelligent people say things like, "I care, but I won't let it control me. This matters to me, but I'm choosing how to respond. I'm affected, but not destroyed." These sentences show clarity, not collapse. They show self-control, not self-denial, and they prevent the emotional numbness that often leads to resentment or bitterness later. Imagine someone at work giving you harsh feedback. The insecure response is, "I don't care what they think." The intelligent response is, "Let me see what's useful and discard the rest." One reaction shuts down growth. The other filters it with wisdom. Or imagine someone you care about pulls away. The defensive mind says, "Whatever, I don't care." The wise mind says, "This hurts, but I'll handle it with dignity." One hides behind ego, the other stands in self-respect. Stoicism teaches that caring selectively, not universally, is strength. Caring about your character, your principles, your integrity, your actions, your peace, those are the things that matter. Caring about gossip, insults, or shallow opinions is simply a waste of energy. So the next time you want to say, "I don't care," pause. Ask yourself what you actually feel and respond from your higher self, not your wounded ego. "I care, just not in a way that controls me." That sentence shows real intelligence. That sentence builds emotional strength, and that sentence frees you from the illusion of indifference. At the end of the day, intelligence isn't proven by how much you know, how loudly you speak, or how confidently you defend yourself. It's revealed by the discipline behind your words, the restraint, the clarity, the honesty, and the courage to choose language that elevates you instead of limiting you. If you recognize yourself in any of these 7 sentences, don't judge yourself. Everyone has said these things at some point. What matters now is what you choose from this moment forward, because the person you become is shaped not by your past reactions, but by your next decision. Stoic philosophy teaches that the mind is a garden. Some sentences plant weeds. Other sentences plant strength, humility, wisdom, and self-respect. And every day, through small choices, you decide what grows. So take these lessons with you. Use them in your relationships, your work, your conflicts, your moments of doubt. Speak with intention, listen with humility, and protect the power of your voice, because it shapes the world more than you realize. If this video resonated with you, leave a comment below. I choose wiser words. And remember to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs it. Your voice is powerful. Use it wisely.